Protest group Extinction Rebellion.
Extinction Rebellion.
Extinction Rebellion begin their latest protest against climate change.
280 arrests. Huge parts of central London were blocked off.
There were very dramatic scenes, as we've seen this morning.
5,000 of the rebels who are coming to London this week have said they're willing to be arrested.
All my property's still in there!
Tensions started to considerably rise.
If one of your members was injured in the course of a protest like that, you say it would be a price worth paying?
Uncooperative crusties was the way the Prime Minister described protesters at an event last night.
Nose-ringed, dreadlocked, climate change protesters.
Accepting that people won't necessarily like us, they won't necessarily understand why we're doing what we're doing, or why we're doing things in the way in which we're doing it, but they might be waking up to the climate crisis. And as far as that goes, we've been very effective.
It's been 4 months since the International Rebellion in October 2019. It was the latest large-scale protest by the environmental movement Extinction Rebellion that took over the streets of London and rest of the world for 2 weeks, targeting several bridges, roads, and public transport. The weeks of protesting were met with understanding and anger from the public, as both concerns over climate change and the disruptions caused by the protests were increasing. Today, London is quiet, but Extinction Rebellion is not, as they prepare for a new phase of their rebellion. This is Tom Martin. He's a freelance photojournalist who's been part of Extinction Rebellion for the past 9 months. As a photographer for Extinction Rebellion, his job is to capture the community and togetherness of the movement to the rest of the world that might not otherwise be seen in the media.
Absolute maze. Before Extinction Rebellion, I'd taken part in a few Greenpeace marches, really low-level sort of protests that didn't, in my opinion, achieve very much. Extinction Rebellion, to me, is one of the most important and active communities that I've ever come across. It was its power that it just came out of nowhere, literally just appeared overnight, and already had so much power that it could mobilize thousands of people to do something that no group had ever done before, which was just taking roads, seizing up parts of London with such a clear, concise and urgent message. And the more research that you did into it, the more you listened to what they were saying and the information they were giving you, you realized, oh my God, this is such an important issue. Why is everyone not solving this? Why is not everyone giving their attention to this? I would like to be part of the solution. I would like to do something, because I realized right from the get-go that it was of this beautiful community, a very empathic people who at the same time understood that this is a massive existential crisis and it's an awful thing to go through, but also by being in this community we can help support each other. So I saw lots of just beautiful people hanging out together, total strangers, giving each other cups of tea, just coming together for actions like they'd never met before, but they'd spend 5 hours holding a banner and they'd leave friends. So I thought, hey, I'd like to photograph this, not so much as a photojournalist. I don't really care to shoot so that I get my photos in newspapers or on the TV. I want there to be a long-lasting archive that shows, these are the people of this movement. There's beauty here as well as chaos and protests. Like we're having a spokesperson meeting in the other room currently. I was in there a couple of minutes ago just taking photos to show that, yeah, these are the people who are constantly on TV, but they're also part of a family. They're having a good time while also working through some very difficult things. Much like they did with me, I think a lot more people know a lot more facts and are slowly but surely waking up to the fact that this is not a perfect world. The way we are living is not sustainable. We can't keep living in this world of excess, capitalism and spending. That the way we are living is just not the perfect way to live.
The Extinction Rebellion office is enormous, with enough space for everyone to get together and plan future actions. However, this is not their first office space. The previous Extinction Rebellion office got raided by the police, which led the movement to abandon the space and find a new secure location. The relationship between Extinction Rebellion and the police in London has been complicated from the beginning, which is why the location of the current office is kept as a secret.
There's been a sort of cat and mouse game between us and the police of how much disruption can we cause before they arrest us. But it works in our favour because the more people that are arrested tells the government that, you know, this is a cause that matters to the people. These people are willing to be arrested for this, so they have to take notice. You see that you're sort of at risk of being arrested. Give you one of these, help you out.
This is Vishal Chauhan, a doctor working full-time with Extinction Rebellion. He first joined the movement to help out the members with burnouts through meditation. Like Tom, he feels like Extinction Rebellion has opened his eyes when it comes to climate change.
In fact, I didn't really care much about Extinction Rebellion because I thought extinction's a bit extreme. And actually at the time, I thought I was really Buddhist and Zen and thought, you know what, everything becomes extinct at some point. I don't really care whether we become extinct. And so maybe with the meditation practice, people realize that extinction is inevitable anyway. It's we need to change our mentality around it. But what I didn't realize was that extinction doesn't happen like that. Extinction is slow and painful, as we can already see around the world. It's causing unnecessary suffering. So people are often reacting in different ways. Initially, they might be angry or annoyed. Or they'll say, oh, we appreciate what you're doing. This is really great what you're doing. What we're starting to see more is people starting to say this thing. I agree with the cause, but why do you have to be disrupting me? Which is a victory, right? They agree with the cause. As soon as someone says, yeah, I get it. Yeah, the government's like not responding to this crisis, but why do you have to be doing this? So here's the important thing. We often measure people's response based on how they interact with us when we're on the streets or what they say about Extinction Rebellion. But the real measure is how many people care about the climate crisis, understand the climate crisis.
An Ipsos poll from 2019 reveals that concerns over climate change are rising in the UK. In 2019, 85% of the people expressed some sort of concern over the changing climate, whereas only 14% said they were not concerned about the issue. This was a 25% increase to the numbers in 2013, when 60% said they were worried over climate issues. This increase can be seen in London as well. People seem to generally agree that something needs to be done to stop the rise of temperatures. But what they don't agree on is how to do it. This is why opinions on Extinction Rebellion vary among Londoners.
My feeling towards them is that I think they're basically doing a good job, but obviously I don't agree with aggressive confrontation.
Do you know what? If people have got to do certain things for the government to listen, I'm all for it. I walk to work. I walk back, so yeah. So I understand the people that are commuting and being late for work, because if you've got an unreasonable manager, then yeah, you're getting to a lot of, but you know what? It's going to happen to all of us, so therefore I can understand, and I have no issues about them stopping trains, climbing on buildings, stopping traffic. No, I don't.
Raising awareness, I think it was probably a really good thing for them to do. You know, we heard about them in the news quite a lot. They were doing protests all over London. I know people who went. I didn't go myself, but again, it's all about raising awareness and making people more conscious about looking after the environment.
The next person interviewed wanted to stay anonymous because of her job.
My office building is right outside Trafalgar Square, and that's where they had the massive rally protest. Everyone was just in the square, so I had to walk through the square every day. It was a little bit annoying. They probably made me more aware, just knowing that people are actually going out of their way to not go to work and protest in this campaign and stuff like that. And it's made me more aware that I should care more.
Tom himself has witnessed people's anger towards Extinction Rebellion, but understands where it's coming from. He was there when Extinction Rebellion stopped a train in Canning Town, a working class area in East London. This action in particular led to criticism of Extinction Rebellion being an out-of-touch white middle-class movement.
So those protests, they follow a very delicate line. Before that group did the protest at Canning Town, they did a few at Canary Wharf, which I was also present at, which I wholeheartedly supported. So some of them, I regret that they have an adverse and negative effect on the general public. But I would hope that most who have even done a little bit of research are aware that it is a necessary action to take, that we need to shout as loud and as often as possible about the situation that the government is just not addressing. Yes, the Canning Town was a bit of an awkward and embarrassing action for XR, to be honest. But when the government says that it declares a climate emergency after all of our struggles and our work, they're going to get to that point and then decide that they want to go ahead with a third runway at Heathrow, or open a new coal site in Durham, despite the local population saying no to it 3 times. All we can do is try and cause as much chaos as possible and shout as loud as we can.
Tonight, Tom is photographing a gift event by Animal Rebellion, a subgroup of Extinction Rebellion that focuses on animal rights. Tonight's event was organized to provide an alternative vision of how people can give to one another and to the community. People are asked to pay what they can for the food and activities of the night, and the event itself is supposed to serve as a gift to the supporters as they can enjoy the live music and other entertainments. This is the side of this community that you don't often get to see in the media, and it's also what Tom wants to capture in his photos.
So you'll look around for the important human interactions, 2 friends who haven't seen each other for a long time, smiling, laughing. I really liked finding hugs. You build up this portfolio for the night of all these precious moments that people are going to forget in a second. The human brain is stupidly fallible. It just drops details all the time. And that's why photography is so nice, because it just takes that memory, it puts it into a physical representation that doesn't degrade as fast as human memory does.
We're a people's movement. You might think we're just filled with liberal radicals, but we're filled with normal people. The press coverage has been pretty negative from the get-go, which is an incredibly regretful and quite embarrassing thing to see our own media turning against the will of the people and a cause that affects us all. It is their job to make the public aware. Having BBC and Channel 4 and ITV and all of the newspapers refuse to call us by our name. We just call us climate activists and crazies. And our own Prime Minister called us crusties. And even in April, a newspaper called us crusties. And that's not a word I've ever seen in the media before. And that's just referring to people who believe in respecting the planet Instead, they will do anything that they can to obstruct our message. You know, they'll run stories that no one cares about. You know, like the newest happenings on Hollyoaks is more important than us trying to engage the public in what is the largest existential climate crisis ever. I think the reason they're trying to obstruct our message comes down to one simple word, and it's greed. The system is run by money.
Trust in media has slowly been declining in the UK over the past 5 years. This can also be seen in London. These Londoners expressed their views on how Extinction Rebellion has been covered in the British media. Some of them were distinct from Tom's views, and some were very similar.
I do think they do give them a bad press. So I don't think it's fairly, no.
I think they were to start with, but then when there was all that problem with tube trains and they were stopping tube trains and commuters couldn't get to work, I think that was a bad move, and I think the press turned against them. So I think they've got to up their image now and get back on good tracks with the public and the press.
There are elements of coverage which were pretty positive as well, from my perception. But obviously they honed in on those rather more unfortunate times, because I guess that's what they do.
The next day, Tom was photographing a People's Assembly where decisions were made about Extinction Rebellion's action plan for 2020. The idea behind People's Assemblies is to give everyone a voice so that issues can be discussed democratically. This is something Extinction Rebellion is looking to implement within the UK government, if ever given the chance.
It's amazing that we're here on a Sunday afternoon to do this. So I just want you to just acknowledge everybody here for being here and for doing this.
Tom explains more about how People's Assembly would actually work in practice.
A truly demographically representative group. So say, I think the population of this country is 52% women. So 52% of those 300 would be women. And then you would have a certain allocated block for people of colour or LGBTQ+. That way, it's not just rich white men all in a room discussing topics about things that they don't know anything about. And in this way, everyone has a voice. The common misconception is that XR has like a founder and like a very small amount of people who tell other people what to do. It's not. It's a massive group of people who come together and make the decisions collectively. And that can seem like quite an inalienable thing to people who haven't engaged in that system before, but it works. And it's a beautiful thing to see in action.
Today, people were divided into 5 groups: outreach, disruptive action, storytelling, listening, and never plan beyond tea time. In the small groups, everyone was given a chance to speak up. And in the end, each group presented their ideas to everyone.
Within each of these groups, there are perfect strangers making wonderful connections that will likely last the rest of their time with an XR. I mean, just looking around, everyone has this look of absolute concentration. Someone said earlier that the goal of this is to not just listen so that you can think of something to say or how to respond. It's to listen as though you're giving that person a hug. To truly listen to what they're saying and to understand them. And I think that's what will make a good photo.
It was meant to be Annika who was actually presenting the rebellion leaders, but sadly she couldn't be here with us.
This is Tiia Kärkkäinen, Rebellion Weaver and Region Coordinator for Extinction Rebellion Youth. She was one of the speakers at today's People's Assembly.
What is it like being the host group of the rebellion? Thinking of questions about how we can support the rebellion in being regenerative, providing accommodation for rebels all across the country.
So far, the reaction from young people has been encouraging, which is why Daisy feels like what Extinction Rebellion is doing is effective.
Yes, I hope it is, or it'd be a waste of my time. But yeah, I think it is really effective. It's trying to engage people like they've never engaged before. It's not just the protest, but it's the community, it's the learning that happens in spaces like this that makes Extinction Rebellion quite different. We came in at the perfect time, not because of us, but because of all the movements that have come before us. And us coming in and doing it through beauty and community and understanding the climate crisis has been a really great way of getting people to understand the urgency and also understanding how to act within that. I thought it was individual change that can actually make a difference, and being part of XR actually made me realise it's the system that we need to change.
At the end of the event, a clearer idea of what Extinction Rebellion wants to achieve and change this year is starting to shape out. Mistakes have been learned from, and people have been listened to, as everyone gathers around to hear out the ideas for this year's actions.
So last year's actions were more like big newspaper headers. You know, XR takes the streets, big action, it's never been done before. It's in all the newspapers, but now we've done that dozens of times. You know, our old tactics, they're getting old, they're not getting the attention that they once did. A lot of people are becoming quite embittered because we keep blocking the roads or transport and we're not affecting the right people. It's not all about getting the newspaper. Yeah, it'd be good, but we want to be just on everyone's minds. We can stay keeping relevant, I think, is our tactic for 2020. Once everyone knows, once everyone has all the statistics and the facts that people within XR do, those people won't really have a choice. They'll realise that 70% of our global emissions are down to just 100 companies. And then the government and those companies telling us to use less plastic straws or maybe go vegetarian is a bit insulting. And they'll realise, okay, we should actually do something. We need your help if we're going to stop this, if we're going to keep having sunny days. I mean, we probably will keep having sunny days, but they'll get way hotter and our crops will fail. Once our crops fail, there's no more food. It's simple as that.
What have you been grateful for? What I want to do is, if you all think of the one thing that you have been grateful for this afternoon, we can all say it at the same time. It's a check-up for the whole group. So, 1, 2, 3. I'm grateful for all of you being here. Come on, say your check-up.
Concerns over climate change are higher than ever in the UK. Although Londoners are increasingly climate conscious and consider it as a high priority, they don't attribute this solely to Extinction Rebellion.
I was getting quite serious about it before they came into the front.
Yeah, the same for me. I was thinking along those lines, but I think what with Greta Thunberg and Extinction Rebellion, I think the two together have made me think about my life and, you know, use of private cars, use of aeroplanes and that type of thing.
It looks like most Londoners are behind Extinction Rebellion's cause, but it's their way of raising awareness that bothers some of them. Disrupting public transport, destroying properties and blocking roads are not deemed as effective ways to fulfill their mission by the Londoners. But Tom has a counter-argument.
We've been really quite successful. We've achieved something that I've never seen done before. We came out of nothing to creating these events where hundreds of thousands of people were willing to put their personal freedoms on the line, you know, get arrested in the name of this cause. Our name has spread like wildfire around the country, around the world. We have groups in almost every single country who are fighting for the same cause.
Like the People's Assembly showed, Extinction Rebellion is ready to listen and change. However, they're not going to change their tactics completely, because after all, they are a rebellion. It remains to be seen how effective the new face of Extinction Rebellion will be.